At the outset, I thank OGTC for giving me this opportunity to present the social compliance as a new phase of competitiveness in apparel exports. Let me tell you that the presentation is on the basis of a research project and depends on the research methodology. Before I start my presentation, let me also congratulate OGTC for their 8th edition this year. And as you know, when there are 8 electrons in the orbital, that becomes perfect. So my all thanks to the organizers, Mr. Kesar, for giving this as a perfect molecule now. It is very strong. So as you know that social compliance has been a talk of town in the apparel industry. Look at it, this aircraft. This was in news maybe a week before. We have just included it. It has a first voyage day before yesterday from Delhi to Chennai. And the cost is around US 30 million. You know, we use aircrafts, but we don't know from where the various components come. Who supplies the fabric? Who supplies the wires? As a customer, we are absolutely not aware of that. Now look at it to my industry. A garment produced with a zari, which is valued $5 to $10 a piece. And some newspapers report that zari embroidery is made by employing child labor. A couple of embassies send information to their countries. And India is considered as a place where allegedly we say that we are using child labor. Now look at it, the two scenarios. A product which is of $5 to $10 attracts that kind of media, NGO attention. Whereas an aircraft which is of $30 million US, which we use every day, doesn't have this kind of information. So that's how, if you look at it. Now I'll give you a couple of examples. A garment factory sometimes not in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and China, had 9,000 workers. It was maintaining the highest of the standards. A better standard than at Los Angeles. There was a London-based newspaper which published a report saying that workers in this factory are in a sweatshop and are paid slave wages. An article also accused the leading UK departmental store for that. But what was the ground reality? The journalist never visited the factory. The story was based on the single disgruntled employee who was angry because management did not renew his contract. Another example, and that is very recent. Some brands went to approach Bangladesh government and suggested to accept the workers' demand and increase the minimum wages by 50%. That is from US cent 14 to US dollar 21 cents an hour. I mean, for a brand, this would have been just translated into a higher cost by 0.15, where the factory, however, the same wage increase will reduce the net profit by 14%. So look at it, the impact of these newspaper reports to the manufacturers, which can go take away a profit of 14%. So social aspects are coming more into apparel than any other industry. So compliance has given rise to two false beliefs. I am from the industry, and I feel this is a false belief that all garment factories are sweatshops employing children, and to improve conditions would lead to higher garment prices. And the reaction of the consumer is left with two unreal choices. Pay less for clothing by turning blind to terrible working conditions. Consumers world over are more concerned about their own welfare rather than the people in our country or in Bangladesh or Cambodia or Vietnam. And therefore the consumer, the buyers, entrust the auditing to professionals that the factory are acting with the global compliance. So they are least bothered. They say, okay, let's go and audit. So India fights, My council is fighting with EU 12126, TVPRA. Arguments, counter-arguments. So social compliance seems to be a new phase of competitiveness within the apparel industry. It's the subject. At least I repeat this social word in my office at least 10 to 15 times a day. And I don't know how many times a manufacturer thinks of this. Little historical background that the social compliance is not in the last days or yesterday's thing. It is almost 5,000 years back. It was also there in the Dutch East India Company. And there's some discussion in the 1920s. So the concept is very, very old. In 20th century, this was also talked about when US started giving up their manufacturing, so they thought of this. Now look at it. What is the definition of social compliance? It's very important to know for us. It's a continuous process in which the involved parties keep on looking for better ways to protect the health, safety, and fundamental rights of the employees, and to protect and enhance the community and environment in which they operate. So what we eat, what we breathe, what we see, everything can come under so-called social. So there's not very bracketed kind of a thing. It has a wide coverage. So need for a social compliance, just like a helmet, a person riding on a scooter, it has a lot of weight on the head, but it is only useful when you fall. Otherwise, you always feel that it's a lot of load on your head. So you can imagine. These are some of the typologies of standards, and exporters are confused where to go. I think the industry all over India, all over the world, is going around these standards. Coming to India, there are a couple of acts where the social compliance is attached. When we did the 42nd Amendment in the Constitution, we added social justice. And the social justice is there in our Constitution. So we are answerable. And we are also answerable to adhere to these laws. I mean, each act has social into it, environment embedded into that. So what we did, what I did rather, that I started a project on my own and to understand, to speak to the buyers as to how they attach importance to this social compliance. And with that objective, I did a small research. So I surveyed, I approached 350 buyers, and out of which 160 obliged me with their filled-up questionnaires. I use these techniques, which the research person will understand better, just to testify the significance, the robustness, and these are some of the results. And if you look at it, the entire 160 We're from a different set of continent, from Africa, Asia, European Union, Latin America, North America, Oceanic. That means it's covered the whole lot of the globe. According to the buyers, capacity, majority of the buyers have less than $1 million buying per year. So what I'm looking at, those who are giving the bread and butter to Indian exporters. The buying capacity in EU and North America are higher compared to other regions. That's a fact. If you look at it, we do 49% of our exports to European Union and nearly 25% to US. But the ground reality is that most of the business is not through the branded segment, it's through the indirect segment. We asked them what are the reasons they outsource from India or from a developing country. And there has been across the region consensus among the apparel buyers that Indian apparel products are cheaper, domestic supply of RMG is costlier in their market, the customers are attracted for color, design and pattern. However, there were some changes in the North American buyer and EU buyer. They have a different attitude for the color and design, and they were in disagreement that color and design patterns are attractive for the consumer. So there is a wide variety of responses which we got from the buyer. And then we did certain analysis, and we came to know that the timely delivery and the new and innovative products are important factors. Accreditation and CSR activities are not important for buyers. That's very important. Look at it, 160 buyers saying accreditation and CSR activities are not important. They are, but not important. And the rest of the factors like price of the product, fabric quality, diverse designs are also not very important as per the test. So we further went into the statistics, and we found that all factors are significance value, which is higher than 0.05%, which suggests there is no statistically significant difference between the groups. Therefore, there are no statistical significant difference among the buyers while choosing suppliers and the given reason. We did also the test of robustness. This strengthens the results of analysis of variance that no association among buyers on the factors considered for suppliers selection, as all significant values are greater than 0.05. If you look at it, only the timely delivery and new and innovative product has some significance. This further strengthens my results. Now coming to CSR activities, this further strengthens my results. I can share the copy of the presentation, whoever wants it for greater interaction. So what can be inferred? That buyers are more concerned about the flexibility of the supplier on quality and price of product, one, followed by timely delivery, followed by fabric quality, followed by lower price of the product and superior yarn availability. And what the factors are which are not very important are the superior technology, handling large demands, new innovative products, minimum production capacity, experience of manufacturers, diversity in design, and socially compliant factory. These are the perception of the buyers. I mean, this is as per the research. So what I mean to say, the inference is that socially compliant factory has an importance to the buyers, but they lay emphasis on the first 5 attributes first, then they go to factory compliance. So there's not a lot of cause of worry among the apparel manufacturers if they go by this sequence. Have the factory compliance, but also look at it, the flexibility within them. So this is all my presentation. The conclusions are, the result does not support that social compliance is a major determinant of the apparel export competitiveness. Means if your factory is socially compliant, but you have higher cost, you are not flexible, you don't have a superior fabric, yarn, you can't stand in the market. And there is no influence on the region. Suppose you are selling to EU and you feel that EU has more socially compliant. No, this is particularly very relevant to one particular buyer. I mean, the person with which you are working is more important than the region as a whole. And I tell you that some of the reasons. I mean, my lot of 160 could have some errors. To that extent, these are my conclusions. Thank you.